In this Circuits of the Past video, we'll do a lap on the full AVUS circuit in Berlin, Germany, with some abandoned and forgotten places along the way. We'll start in the front of the grandstand, which is still there today. I bet today a lot of tourists are probably wondering what on earth an old grandstand is doing sitting along the highway near Berlin. It's not judging your lane discipline, that's for sure. It's a remnant of the AVUS, one of the most peculiar racing circuits of the past. AVUS stands for, deep breath, Automobil Verkehrs und Übungsstraße. Wow, that's a difficult sentence. I probably butchered it. Sounds like a pudding. Herman, give it a go.
Automobil Verkehrs und Übungsstraße.
Thank you to the Dutch Alexa I never knew I needed. Okay, that means in English, Automobile Traffic and Exercise Road. In fact, it was an experimental, for the time, multiple lane highway, in German Autobahn, which could also be used as a racetrack. The construction of the AVUS in Berlin started in 1913 as an initiative of Emperor Wilhelm II. The outbreak of the First World War in 1914 stopped the works, but they continued again in 1919, and the first race was held in September 1921. Anyone fancy a centennial event? It would be hard to imagine a more simple racetrack design than the layout of the AVUS. It was two 5-mile-long straights. Tilke, watch yourself. But they were connected with permanent reverse loops on both sides. But the AVUS was no ordinary racetrack. In fact, it was the world's first motorway. During the week, it was used as a toll road for traffic from Berlin to Wannsee and Potsdam. In the weekend, it could then be used to organise race events. For racing and testing, two artificial loops were built, a northern loop and a southern loop. Both loops originally had a banking of 5 degrees. On our right hand side we can see an empty space which is where the remains of the smaller loop used to be, and that was used for motorcycle races. Between 1951 to 1988, however, it was used for all different kinds of racing. Just like the traffic in Germany, the racing cars also drove on the right at the Autobahn section, which meant that the AVUS was driven anti-clockwise. The length of the original AVUS was 19.537 kilometres or 12.16 miles. The shorter version for motorcycle races was 8.3 kilometres or 5.157 miles. As you see, there was a lot of traffic during filming, but Herman did all that he could to give a clear sight of the track where possible. Herman, who is on the screen and driving around, is the founder of the Circuits of the Past website and YouTube channel. He filmed all the footage of the AVUS. I'm Simon Smith and I just do the voiceovers, butchering them and all. A first reconstruction came in 1936 when a new road was planned to the exposition site next to the AVUS. The northern loop would have to make way for this new road. As compensation, we would get a new high-speed corner. This new corner was paved with bricks and had a banking of a whopping 43.6 degrees. This made the AVUS the fastest racetrack in the world. The new corner became very famous under the nickname Wall of Death. This was the ultimate squeaky bum time. Next to the high-banked corner, a new grandstand and circuit buildings were built too. We'll see all of that later in the video. In the spring of 1937, the renewed AVUS was ready and the first race was held in May. That race was won by Hermann Lang in his Mercedes with an average speed of about 260 km an hour or 160 miles per hour, with top speeds of 380 km per hour or 225 miles per hour. Whew, those records would stand for more than 3 decades. In 1938, the AVUS was connected with an expanding web of German autobahns. For this, the original southern loop was demolished. There were plans to build a second high-banked corner to replace the demolished southern corner. The works had already begun, but when World War II broke out in September 1939, the works obviously stopped. We now enter the site of the original southern loop, but before we turn, Hermann shows you the site of the proposed high-banked southern loop. Today, the unfinished embankment for the corner is still there. Here you see Hermann drive around the unfinished southern corner back to the Autobahn to continue the lap on the AVUS. When Hermann was searching for the remains of the unfinished corner on the same road, he saw a group of cyclists in his mirror just before he found the site. So as to not to disturb them, he turned on his hazard lights and parked the car as far as possible on the shoulder. However, because it's Hermann, no doubt, one of the cyclists seemed to get annoyed at Hermann's presence and gestured that he was crazy. So, if you was that cyclist watching that video, Hermann has a message back: you're crazy yourself. Moving on, we're now back on the Autobahn for the ride back to Berlin and the Northern Loop, the circuit buildings and the grandstand. In the meantime though, I'll tell you about the post-war history of the AVUS. After the war, racing on the AVUS continued in 1951 at the shorter version, the 8.3 km 5.157 mile one, which was used before the war for motorcycle races. We saw that smaller loop earlier. In 1954, there was also a non-championship Formula 1 race held. However, for political reasons, the official 1959 German Grand Prix was held at the AVUS, which was in the Western Zone to give people in the Russian-occupied Eastern Zone the opportunity to visit a Formula 1 Grand Prix. As a gesture of goodwill, the East German fans could pay for their ticket in East marks. The Saturday before the Grand Prix, Frenchman Jean Bira was killed during a supporting sports car race. He slipped up the high-banked northern corner, flew over the top and crashed into the remains of the foundations of an anti-aircraft gun from World War II. During the Grand Prix on Sunday, everything went well and both heats were won by British driver Tony Brooks in his Ferrari. It was incidentally the only Formula 1 race which was ever driven purposefully in two heats. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was built and Formula 1 didn't return to the AVUS again. Because the high-banked northern corner was found too dangerous, the corner was demolished and replaced by a flat version in 1967. From 1975 onwards, the AVUS was used just twice a year to be closed for racing. The rest of the year it was purely the motorway that connected West Berlin to West Germany. In 1989, the track was shortened to 4.879 kilometres or 3.032 miles. The southern corner was reduced to just an additional piece of asphalt at the turning point. There was also a chicane built as they entered the northern loop. And from 1984 to 1995, the combined event of German Touring Car Championships, DTM, and the German Formula 3 Championship was the annual highlight at the AVUS. In 1992, new safety measures were also applied. To reduce speeds, the straights were shortened again, and the southern loop was reduced to just a gap in the guardrail to turn around. Despite the new safety measurements, a lot of accidents still happened during the touring car events, which fueled the discussions about the safety of the semi-street circuit. Having seen some of the DTM season reviews of that time, it does remind me a lot of the old Destruction Derby games. We now enter the Northern Loop. As you can see, Hermann tries to exit here. This is also where the site of the chicane used to be. He chose the left lane to exit to show you the entrance to the Northern Loop. But as you can see, the Northern Loop is actually closed, so Hermann had to make a little detour to enter this section. We're going to skip over that detour and watch Hermann drive the Northern Loop in the opposite direction to continue the lap. On the left, you can see another chicane. This was built after the fatal accident of British driver Keith O'Dore in September 1995. Here on the entrance of the Northern Loop, he spun during a Super Touring Car Cup race. Frank Bieler hit him in the door on the driver's side, and he passed away in the next morning at hospital. From that moment on, the track was criticised more and more. New safety measurements were required for the 1996 race, just like that chicane. They also smoothed out the road to get rid of as many bumps as possible. But the end of the AVUS semi-street circuit came closer when a new permanent racetrack was built not far from Berlin, the Lausitzring. The last year the AVUS was used for competition was in 1998. On the 1st of May 1999, there was a final goodbye event on the AVUS. All the historic cars that ever drove at this historic track were taken out from the museum for a final meeting at this most remarkable circuit from the past. From here, Hermann had to explore the Northern Loop by foot. We now walk on the flat version of the northern corner. This is also the site where the famous high-banked corner, nicknamed the Wall of Death, was from 1937 to 1967. It's a good job that corner was demolished in 1967, or otherwise we'd be watching Hermann sliding down it quicker than he did on the old Monza banking. In the background you can already see the old circuit building and control tower. These buildings were also opened in 1937 after the huge reconstruction of the Northern Loop and the introduction of that high-banked corner. These buildings are now in use as a motel and restaurant. Let's have a look at the old circuit buildings. When we walk further in, you can see an old grandstand in the background. The grandstand is also from 1937 and was part of a huge renovation that started in 1936. Today the grandstand is a monument, just like all the other AVUS buildings that are still surrounding it too. In 2017 they started with a reconstruction to renovate the monument and give it some new purpose. There are plans for it to be used for offices, shops, cafes and also an AVUS museum. Here the Northern Loop connects back to the Autobahn section. Before we drive over the start-finish line, we'll have a quick look at the old grandstand first. Hermann filmed this back in 2016, a year before these renovations started. The first thing that they did was replace the roof with a new one, but kept the old style to keep in with that retro AVUS vibe. If you want to know more about the history of the AVUS, I recommend the article on the website www.circuitsofthepast.com. There you can also download a free ebook about 7 abandoned racetracks that you can visit legally. For now though, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you don't miss our next video from another bygone circuit from the past.